Welcome to the Beyond Electric Sheep podcast. I'm Rick Thompson.
And I'm Ed Daniels.
Ed, it's good to sit down with you. It's been a few weeks. You've had some travels.
Yep.
You had a kind of an interesting thing you've been working on that's a little different from what we've been talking about on our most recent episodes. You wrote a book a few years back about firefighting. You were a fire chief for a number of years, and you're doing a rewrite of that book, and we're using AI to help you. And I think you learned some interesting things.
And I'm sort of in the midst of that experience, but it's been really interesting. I actually wrote two books. I wrote a book which was sort of a memoir of my experience, 14 years as a volunteer firefighter and a fire chief. That book's sold reasonably well, and I wrote it as sort of a catharsis to get that experience worked through in my own mind. But the next book that I wrote was called The Last of the Firefighters, and this is it actually. And I wrote it 10 years ago, and it sort of gave me a chance to think forward on the firefighting technology. And, 10 years ago, I was interested in AI and robotics, and so I thought through, well, what is the implication of that going to be on firefighting? And so that book takes this fictional firefighter in Boulder, Colorado, through his career and the impact of technology.
Yeah, I love that.
And anyway, it was fun to write 10 years ago, but then, it had some flaws in it from a writing perspective, so I felt that I needed to rewrite it. But plus the technology, 10 years has done a lot in terms of AI, incredible advances, and robotics also. So I worked on the rewrite, and of course, how am I going to do something like that without the assistance of our friendly AI to help with the process?
For sure. So I want to dig into that. I haven't read the book in a few years. My memory
Don't read it till I get the new edition
okay,
ready.
Well,
but yeah.
My memory is that there was a lot of robotics. And I don't remember a lot of AI. I'm sure it was part of it.
Yeah.
What's happened in AI, generative AI, LLMs and all that stuff in the last 2 years, I'm sure would shape how you write this one. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects some of that.
Right.
So, all right, well, why don't we talk about how you used the various AI tools? I don't know if you were using Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, what you were doing.
Yes. Oh, I'll explain that. So first of all, we got this book, which is out on Amazon, but don't anybody buy it because I'm going to completely revise it. And then I redid the book and redid the cover, and this one is done with Midjourney. And so look at the difference. This is a sort of commercial artist, and this is Midjourney based on my basic commands. So
yeah, interesting.
And these folks are the main characters. So there's the firefighter guy. There's the love interest, if you want to call her that. Her name is Nina. And then there's the humanoid robot, Tui.
Yeah.
And so these are the main characters, both in the old edition and the new one.
Yeah, on this one, I see the humanoid robot. You had two humans and one robot.
Yeah,
right. Got it. Yeah,
I couldn't get Midjourney to generate my other human the way I wanted them. So, it was a limitation. So anyway, my first thought was, wow, GPT-4o is so powerful. Why don't I just take the text version of this book plus the cover image and upload it to GPT-4o and tell it what I want to do? I want to go through all of the evolution of the technology. I want to review each one of the technological advances that I postulate is going to happen over the next 20, 30 years. So go through that, make sure that what I said 10 years ago is still reasonable, maybe update it a little bit, and then tweak a couple of things in the plot line, and then give me back the new text with your modifications, and make it convenient for me by highlighting the modifications. So that if I was hiring you to rewrite my book, that's what I tell you to do.
Right.
So I figure, what the heck? Let's have GPT-4o do that. Well, a matter of fact, I communicated with you when I did this because it's GPT-4o's going, oh yeah, absolutely, Ed, that's a great idea. I got your text. I'm reading it, but I got to think about it for a while. I mean, it didn't say it exactly that way. So I said, okay, all right. So I'm waiting. nothing. And then, an hour later, nothing, which usually it's going to respond a lot faster than that. So I said, hey, what's
Did
what's
you say
going
continue
on?
or something?
Yeah, I said, what's the status of this? I'm waiting for your result. And it goes, well, it's going to take a little bit longer. So then I said, okay. So the next day, I check in, what's up? How's my book coming? And it's going, I'm working on it. It's going to be a little bit longer. So, okay, this is over a weekend. So like the next, so Sunday comes around and, all right, where's my book? What's going on? And it goes, there must be some misunderstanding here. I can't do this. And I said, what? What do you mean you can't do this? And it says, well, I'm not allowed to. It's copyrighted material. I'm not allowed to modify copyrighted material. I said, I own the copyright. I wrote the darn book.
Yeah.
Why can't you do it? And it says, I can't
check your ID. So.
I can't do copyrighted material, and I can't edit bulk text.
Oh, interesting. That's not true, though, because
I'm just saying what it said.
Yeah,
I didn't
but
say I agreed
maybe
with
bulk
it.
means a book's worth versus, hey,
right.
here's
Well,
a
this
letter
is 200 pages of, So, no, not going to do it.
Yeah.
So by that time, I knew that you'd had a great experience with Claude 3.5 Sonnet.
Yeah.
Completely different company,
Really
Anthropic,
Yeah.
totally different LLM. Okay, so I'm saying, screw this. Forget GPT-4o. I'm not, I'm done with you. I'm going over to Claude. So Claude was way more upfront, and because I uploaded the whole text. It's 83,000 words. I don't know how many tokens that would translate to, but it was able to suck in the text. I decided to help it out by creating a table of here's the characters and here's the technologies and this is the time frame and this is what I probably need you to examine and change or review. And so it sucked in the text fine, 83,000 words. It sucked in the table just fine. And then it said, no, I'm not editing. I can't edit this volume of copyrighted material.
Okay.
So I tried again.
It knew it was copyrighted, so it knew it was your book somehow. They'd probably already ingested it as part of their training.
It probably did already ingest it. That's a really good observation. I don't know. But,
well, because I often ask these LLMs to pull out a concept from a book I've read, and then they'll spit it out.
Yes. And, I mean, the interesting thing is, if I would say, hey, in Chapter 10, Johnny, the firefighter, has to handle a new quadruped robot that's going to help him with firefighting. Can you tell me what I said in there about that? And does that make sense in the chronology, given that 10 years have passed since I wrote that? And it would say, oh, yeah, in that chapter there is this.
Just can't do a full rewrite. So I don't know the full story, but I think you ended up sort of dicing it up into smaller pieces and got it to play. Is that right?
Yes, right. And I can, let me just kind of give you the quick version of what I ended up doing. I said, all right, let's try a different methodology. And then I'm interacting with Claude 3.5 on this. I say, all right, I'm going to try a different methodology. Let's go through this book chapter by chapter. And here's what I'm mostly interested in is to make sure I haven't messed up the chronological sequence, make sure the characters age properly in relation to the other characters, and make sure that the technological advances are reasonable. So, okay, chapter 1. And then it 10 seconds, read chapter 1, said, here are the main characters, here's the main technological innovations that are described in the chapter, and yes, they seem reasonable, and there's only one, here's a possible discrepancy where you haven't mentioned the age of this one character, that sort of thing. Yeah. So I thought, oh, now we got a methodology here. Okay, that's fine. All right, let's go to chapter 2, same thing, be sure you review the technology, make sure you review the characters and that. And so anyway, long story short, go through 20 chapters, one by one. Was more work. I mean, it's my book. I should be willing to do the work.
Right.
But I was trying to take the lazy man's approach.
Yeah.
No. We go through each chapter. It was actually a great exercise, very valuable for me, really interesting. Went through it and, got suggested notes of adjustments and feedback on each chapter.
I love that. Did it give you any suggested rewrites or just notes on how to rewrite?
It wasn't really what I want to say capable or willing to give me the real rewrite. I did ask at the end, once we went through each 20 chapters, what overall suggestions would you have? And each chapter we, identified certain things that would be possible anomalies in the chronological sequence or the logical progression of the technology, but not as easy as I thought, but still, if I were to call you, Brick, on the phone, how would you like me to call you, like, every night and go through 3 or 4 chapters in a night, and you have to read it, and you have to give me feedback, and I have to ask you questions? That's impossible,
it's
right?
True.
You're a busy guy. You got a company to run. You're not going to do it. But I couldn't honestly think of very many other people in my life that would be able to do that, and yet this was a great companion for doing it.
That's cool. I can't wait to see the draft.
Yeah.
I bet you could get prompts that would be really good at this. As you went, I'm sure you modified your prompts.
Oh, I did.
And then you have discussions with it. I think of sometimes just very direct, simple prompts. Like I'll write an email and read it and feel like, this is kind of awkward. But I don't want to get some canned thing. So I'll say, hey, rewrite this email, similar length and the exact same voice. Don't want you to change the voice, and it'll give me back a version that's better that sounds like me.
Yep.
So I
and
wonder
how
if there's things
big?
like that.
How many words, or is that a paragraph long? 5 lines?
I mean,
what?
A couple hundred, 300, maybe 400 words at the most.
Right.
Yeah, so not that much.
Way better performance doing it that way. I had to chunk it that way to make it work.
I bet there are people that have figured out how to have it write a book. I'm sure there's some garbage books out there right now that
terrible books, but to me though, I mean, it just points out clearly that it's got to be a collaborative effort in a weird way. The author has got to be deeply involved in the whole thing. You can't just go tell it to write something and to come up with
you can't
garbage.
We in our marketing department, we were putting together a white paper recently, and the marketing coordinator had built the outline and written a bunch of it, and asked, I think it was Claude, give me a quote, an actual quote that would help support this paragraph from some credible source, and it came up with a McKinsey quote. So when I read the draft, I was reading it and I got to that quote. I didn't know that she had gotten it that way, and was thinking, wow, that's just a perfect quote. And I kept going. I mentioned to her, great quote. There were 2 of them that were great, and that made her suddenly think, wait a sec, I better check whether. And she looked them up, and they were fake quotes.
Oh, yeah.
So then she told it, hey, these are fake quotes. I need actual real ones. And it said, oh, sorry about that. And it gave her real ones that serve the purpose well. But you got to be really careful with these things.
You really do. And,
so
if we do another episode on this, I'll tell you about how GPT-4o did, because I decided to go back and apply the same methodology with GPT-4o.
Yeah, let's do that. All right. Well, we're over time, so let's wrap this one. Talk to you soon.
All right.